right, hey, what's up, y'all? All right, today we are going to talk about using feeling or feeling the body as a meditation focus. All right, it's one of our traditional meditation focuses. So we're going to talk all about using feeling the body as a focus, as a backdrop to notice what's going on as far as our thoughts and our thinking. So, and just to reiterate, remember why we meditate. Remember why we're doing this. Meditation is a practice session, okay? It's like a mental workout. Just like when I go to the gym to do a workout, every repetition I do in the gym is strengthening my capacity to do that specific movement or that exercise. When I come into a meditation session, I'm strengthening my mind. It's a mental workout, right? So meditation to us is all about having a chosen focus, and on the backdrop of that focus, as I'm focused on the focus, then I notice myself thinking, I notice myself lost in thought or completely gone, or I notice myself talking to myself, which can be really sneaky. And as soon as I notice that, because at some point I should notice that I'm not on my focus. As soon as I notice that, the final step is coming back to my focus. That is the repetition, that is the practice moment, okay? So it's really a three-step process. We have a chosen focus. As we're focusing, eventually we start to get lost in thought or talk to ourselves. Sometimes that's really hard to notice, but at some point you're going to notice that. And as soon as you notice that, you gently come back to your new focus, all right? That's the three-step process, and that final step is the most crucial piece of that. That's the repetition, all right? So, and remember what happens when we do this. So first of all, we create space. So if I choose to listen to something in my present moment experience right now, so if I sit here and I listen, I've got traffic, so if I listen to traffic, when I first listen, when I first focus, I create space and thought. There's no thinking temporarily. It actually feels kind of open, right? So I'm creating space. I'm interrupting the cascade of thinking, okay? I'm interrupting the momentum of thinking. I enhance focus because every time I notice myself thinking and deliberately come back to my chosen focus, that in and of itself is enhancing focus. And I see that show up throughout my day. You know, as I'm working on projects, I notice my tendency to get lost or to get sidetracked or want to do something else, and then I come back. So I'm starting to cultivate this capacity to be better focused. I also create space and thought every time I notice myself thinking, and that opens itself up to more creativity, all right? So when I notice myself thinking, temporarily I'm not thinking, I create some natural space and thought. And that space is where all our epiphanies and creativity come from and our inspiration, right? As I do this, I'm cultivating the capacity to become more present in life, because the only time we're not present is when we're up in our heads about something. If I notice myself being up in my head, temporarily I'm not up in my head, I am present. When I notice myself not being present, I am present. When I notice myself thinking, I'm not thinking temporarily, okay? And then I think one of the most important things that we get out of this is we cultivate the skill to notice what's happening or seeing what's happening, right? And what I mean by that is we've already talked about, the problem that most of us have is this habituation of thinking. That's where the root of most of our suffering comes from, because we're always up here. And so if I can see myself thinking, if I can see myself talking to myself, if I can see myself getting triggered and upset and being judgmental and having a critical mind and all the different things that come with this habituation of thinking, as soon as I start to see that, I have a chance to work with it. I interrupt the cascade of constant thinking around it, but then I also have a chance to work with it at some point, okay? Now, the reason that we're doing this is because we are habituated to thinking, and this is where most of our suffering comes from. So now we have a tool. If I notice myself being upset or being in a funk or being triggered or caught by something, right? When I notice it, now I have a chance to work with it. I can come back to the present moment in a lot of different ways using these different focuses. And then, of course, like I have a chance to reframe it sometimes, and maybe write a new story, all right? So ultimately, this is about being more happy than we were before, which comes from all these things that we just talked about, okay? Now, we have 3 different meditation focuses that we like to train or experiment with because we're trying to cultivate present moment awareness, and each one of these focuses brings us into the present moment, right? So listening is a traditional focus that we like to use. Today we're going to talk about feeling the body, because I can only feel in the present moment. Feeling is present, right? So if I feel some wind on my skin, or if I feel the sun on my skin, or if I feel an itch or a discomfort, the feeling only happens now. It happens in the present moment. So that's one of the reasons we like to use feeling, is because as soon as I feel, I am in the present moment. What I'm feeling is in the present moment. Emotions tend to have a really strong physical component. So the better that I get at feeling my body, the better I might get at noticing emotions come over me that I might not notice in my mind. So sometimes I'll notice for myself, because I work with this stuff all day, every day. Sometimes I'll notice a physical something come over me, right? And I'll realize I just got triggered by something, or something just bothered me, even though I don't remember or don't notice having a conscious thought around it. I feel something happen, and that is my indicator. Okay, something just shifted me in some way, right? Feeling is also a really great way to become present when your mind is active. So if I notice myself being caught up or lost in thought or getting distracted a lot, if I just feel my body temporarily, then it's a great way to anchor me in the present moment. And I think it's one of the best ways to make sure that you're present during conversations. So if I'm having a conversation with someone, the tendency is always to be thinking about what I want to say next. Or, like during conversations left and right, we're getting triggered and being judgmental and having all these different thoughts, and sometimes even getting distracted. But if I make a conscious effort to sit and feel my body as I'm talking to someone, it makes me more present. It makes me more aware of things that come over me or trigger me or bother me. And it just makes that whole, conversation and dialogue a little bit more rich, and present moment based. So that's one of the reasons we love to use feeling as a meditation focus, because it cultivates all those different things. So when you feel you're present, in the feeling there's only feeling. We love to use that little phrase because that is the truth, right? When you take a moment and feel, you create some natural space. You can do that anywhere, anytime. So right now, if I just want to feel, I got a nice little breeze out here. As soon as I do that, there's some openness. So you can try that right now. Let's try maybe just holding out your hand for just a moment and not thinking about it, just feel it. Feel the skin on your hand. Feel your fingertips. When you do that, there's natural space created, right? There's no thinking initially. It doesn't mean the thoughts aren't going to come. Of course they're going to come, right? So we want to create some presence through feeling. That's really what we're trying to do with this as a focus, right? So we do this by, very similar to the listening meditation, we do this by, sitting in a calm and assertive posture. I recommend always keeping your eyes open, because life happens with eyes open, right? So if we're trying to cultivate present moment awareness, we want to do this with our eyes open. And then what we recommend doing for feeling meditation is to start with the body scan. So we start at the feet and work the way up, right? So I can put my awareness in my feet and feel my feet. We can do this together right now if you want. Real briefly, we'll just go through it. You can put your awareness in your feet and feel your feet. You're not trying to picture what you feel, you're just trying to feel your feet. If you feel like you can't feel your feet, the attempt at feeling your feet is a great focus, and it creates space. It should feel open. All right, and then I want to do that for every part of my body. I can do that with my calves. I can do that with my thighs. I can put my awareness in my groin area. I can come up to the abdomen. That's usually easy for most people to feel because it's moving in and out as you breathe. All right, come up to your chest and your heart area. Come out to your hands. And then come up to your head. You can put your awareness in your ears, your forehead and your brow. You can relax your forehead and your brow, the muscles around your eyes. You can check in with your eyes. Come down your nasal passage, nasal cavity. Usually that feels a little hollow to me. Come down your mouth and lips. And so that's what we call a body scan, right? You start at your feet, work your way up. It's like you're just checking in with each part of your body, trying to feel it. Not trying to think about it, not trying to picture it, you're just feeling, right? Now, as soon as you get done with that body scan, then you can focus on pressure points. So this is the flow that I like to use. Starting with the body scan, work your way up to the top of the head, right? And then we focus on pressure points. So right now, as I'm sitting, I can feel the pressure of the ground up against the side of my feet. I can feel the pressure of my seat up against my butt. So wherever you're sitting right now, you probably got some pressure against your feet, got some pressure up against your butt. Maybe you're leaning back on a chair, you got the pressure up against your back. Those are great places to feel. I also like to experiment with what we call the midline. So if I have this imaginary line that I can feel, if I'm sitting upright, the back of my head is like being pulled up to the sky. and then I'm pushing my tailbone into the seat, into the ground, and I've got this line that connects the two. We call this a midline, right? So I can feel this midline and try to tighten it up and straighten it up. And I can run my awareness up and down that midline. And as you do that, you should, notice like your posture is getting just a little bit better. All right, so from there, I like to experiment with what I have available to me in this present moment experience, right? So I'm out here, I'm outside, I have a nice little breeze, so I can feel the breeze. I can feel the warmth of the sun. I can feel areas of discomfort in my body. So if I'm sitting for, more than 5 or 10 minutes, I start to get little areas of discomfort. Those are places you can feel. And then finally after that, you can kind of freestyle it, right? You can freestyle just feeling the body. I like to spend some time just putting my awareness in my entire body at once and trying to feel the whole body at once. All right. So again, to go through that little process, as we do feeling meditation, I like to start with the body scan, start at the feet, work way up to the top of the head. You're just checking in with each body part, just trying to feel. If you don't feel like you're doing it right, the focus of trying to feel is a focus, right? So start with that little body scan, and then from there you can go to pressure points, wherever you're feeling the body in contact with something else. And then from there you can do the midline, trying to feel this imaginary line from the top of your head all the way down to your tailbone. And then from there you can feel what you have available to you in your present moment experience, which include wind, sun, breeze, and maybe even little areas of discomfort. And then finally finish with just feeling the whole body, just trying to feel the whole body at once and experimenting with that. And if that seems really vague, then you can go back to those very specific areas that we just talked about, okay? So that is feeling the body meditation, right? So when you sit, we recommend that you do your little 3 deep breaths, and then that you focus on initially listening for a couple minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then you gently transition to feeling the body. And when you do the feeling the body, start at the feet, work your way up, focus on pressure points, focus on present moment experiences, focus on the midline, and then focus on feeling the whole body at once, all right? And you have equal amount of time that you're spending on each focus, okay? All right, so that is feeling the body meditation, all right? Let's go and put this into practice and experiment. Now, by the way, as we're feeling, all right, eventually we're gonna get lost in thought. So what do? As soon as we notice ourselves thinking, lost in thought, or talking to ourselves, we gently come back to feeling the body, wherever we were at with that whole process, right? So it's the same thing. We're trying to cultivate this capacity to notice ourselves thinking, lost in thought, or talking to ourselves. And as soon as we notice that, we just come back to feeling. Because in the feeling, there's only feeling, okay? All right, that's all we got today.